This is the second episode of my mini-series where I make the case for each GOAT candidate in MMA to be the GOAT and why they are. This video is a little different though, as I genuinely believe GSP is the GOAT of MMA. Now I'm not going to be biased, just going to give you the facts for you to form your own opinion though, so don't worry. No one's mixed martial art ability is quite as well rounded as GSP's, and no one's UFC career is quite as clean as GSP's. While other GOAT candidates may have a stain on their career, GSP's stains were wiped off with a 100% bacteria killer set of bleach and replaced with legacy defining wins. First, let's look at stats, advanced stats, and records. Having a career with 26 wins, 2 losses which were both avenged, and 14 finishes along the way, 8 KOs and 6 subs to be more specific, GSP had a long, eventful career. Now onto the advanced stats. By the end of his career, and this is a lot I'm about to go over, GSP was on a 13 fight win streak, tied 4th all time. He would have the second most title wins in UFC history, 9 of them being defenses. He has the most control time in UFC history, most top position in UFC history. He has the second highest significant shot defense in UFC history. He had the second most strikes landed in UFC history. He has the most takedowns in UFC history, 4th highest takedown accuracy, and he has 84% takedown defense. And for every strike landed on GSP, he landed 4. That's a lot of shit to say. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a resume. And there is a huge, giant misconception that GSP has a bad resume that was filled with cans, bums, and plumbers, which is simply untrue. The guy has 6 former champions on his resume, including names like Matt Serra, Matt Hughes, Michael Bisping, Johnny Hendricks, BJ Penn, and Sean Shirk. 2 of those wins, in my opinion, being all-time great wins. Along with these amazing wins, there are good wins that he has, like Jake Shields, Nick Diaz, Josh Koscheck, Frank Trigg, and Carlos Condit to round out his overall resume. As people like Jake Shields and Diaz were champs in Strikeforce, and Condit was an interim champ, he arguably should have been champ in his fight versus Robbie Lawler, as most people think he beat Robbie Lawler. And if we look at how he beat these guys, he dominated 99% of them apart from Hendricks. Now, as I spoke about before, GSP was an insanely well balanced and all around mixed martial arts fighter. I've talked about some of the records that he has on the ground with control time, but don't get me wrong, GSP was also a S-tier striker, especially with his famous move, the Superman jab, which he used against opponents all the time. There wasn't a facet of the game that GSP was bad at. There wasn't a facet of the game that you could beat GSP at. And even if you could, he'd beat you in the other area. Carlos Condit knocks him down, GSP takes him down and dominates him on the feet. Josh Koscheck is a struggle on the ground, GSP dominates Josh Koscheck on the feet. His game planning, his intelligence, and his genuine skill of all facets of the game made him the most perfect fighter we've ever saw. Combined with his insane athleticism and his insane explosiveness, there wasn't a better fighter you could get than George St-Pierre. George started training karate at an early age to defend himself against bullies, but it wasn't long before his athleticism and passion pushed him to explore other martial arts, eventually leading him to jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and Muay Thai. In 2004, GSP made his UFC debut at UFC 46, a relatively unknown prospect at the time, but it didn't take long for him to make an impact, securing 2 dominant wins and positioning himself as one of the fastest stars in the welterweight division. However, when he first faced the legendary Matt Hughes for the vacant UFC welterweight title at UFC 50, St-Pierre learned the hard way that experience was just as crucial as talent. Hughes, a veteran and multi-time champion, submitted GSP with an armbar in the first round. This loss was devastating, but St-Pierre didn't crumble. Instead, he used that loss for motivation, as when he did tap, he tapped with 1 second left to go. It really highlighted it wasn't a talent issue with GSP, it was an experience issue. After the loss, GSP embarked on a mission to refine his skills and fight his way back into title contention. Over the next 2 years, St-Pierre displayed a remarkable evolution of his game, blending his karate roots with his elite wrestling, submission grappling, and a striking game that was becoming second to none. He defeated Frank Trigg, dismantled Sean Shirk, and earned a razor-thin decision over BJ Penn in a war that showcased his ability to handle adversity. By UFC 65, St-Pierre had earned another title shot against Matt Hughes for the welterweight title, and this time, things would be different than the first time. GSP entered the fight with laser focus, refusing to be intimidated by Hughes' legendary resume and career at the time. From the beginning bell, St-Pierre outclassed Hughes on the feet, landing crisp jabs and kicks, and then in the second round he delivered a perfectly timed head kick to send Hughes to the canvas, and then GSP followed up with ground and pound, forcing the referee to stop the fight. George St-Pierre was now the UFC welterweight champion of the world. It was a moment of redemption, years of dedication and perseverance finally paying off, but for GSP, winning the belt was only the beginning. But GSP's first reign hit a shocking roadblock at UFC 69 when he faced Matt Serra, an underdog who had earned his title shot by winning the Ultimate Fighter. No one expected Serra to win. If you picked Serra, you were being illogical, you were being stupid. But in one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, still to this day, Serra caught St-Pierre with a looping right hand and followed it up to become the new UFC welterweight champion of the world. For GSP, it was another devastating loss, but it was served as a turning point of his career, where he would never lose again. St-Pierre, always the professional, took the loss to Serra personally. He redirected himself to his craft, leaving no stone unturned in his preparation. And at UFC 83, in front of a roaring hometown crowd in Montreal, GSP got his revenge. He dominated Serra with relentless takedowns, punishing strikes and vicious ground and pound until the fight was stopped in the second round. George St-Pierre was champion once again. From there, GSP cemented his legacy as one of the greatest champions in UFC history. His title defenses were clinical in technical excellence, whether it was neutralizing the dangerous BJ Penn, out-grappling Jake Seals, or outclassing dangerous strikers like Dan Hardy. Over the course of 9 consecutive title defenses, St-Pierre's ability to adapt to any opponent's strength and exploit their weaknesses was unmatched and something we've not saw since. He was the undisputed king of the welterweight division, seemingly unbeatable. However, the pressure of being champion weighed heavy on GSP. After a controversial win over Johnny Hendricks at UFC 167, GSP vacated the welterweight belt and stepped away from the sport, citing the need to focus on his personal life. It seemed like the end of an era. GSP caught a lot of flack for this, but after 4 long years of being out of the game, GSP wasn't exactly done yet. In 2017, rumours began to swirl of his return, but this time, St-Pierre was eyeing a new challenge. He was coming back to fight for the middleweight title, a belt that which GSP was always rumoured to go up and face Anderson Silva for, but this would be against Michael Bisping at UFC 217. Despite concerns over ring rust and finding a new weight class, GSP returned stronger than ever. At UFC 217, GSP delivered a stunning performance, knocking Bisping down with a left hook and securing a rear naked choke to win the middleweight title. With that win, St-Pierre became a 2-time division champion, solidifying his place as one of the greatest fighters of all time. From humble beginnings in Quebec to becoming one of the most dominant champions in UFC history, George St-Pierre's journey is a testament to hard work, discipline and resilience. He didn't just win titles, he redefined what it meant to be a mixed martial artist. And when he returned against all odds to claim another belt, GSP proved that greatness don't fade, it only grows. He may no longer compete, but his legacy inside the octagon lives forever within his resume, his accomplishments, his stats, and what he was able to do. And GSP has a great case for the greatest fighter of all time.